Lisa Frankenstein is written and directed by Zelda Williams, and it stars Kathryn Newton and Cole Sprouse as the main characters. And I gotta say, I love this movie. Right off the bat, I think this is one of the best horror comedies we've gotten in the last couple of years, and that is saying a lot because I feel like when in the last couple of years, when horror and comedy are put together, it just doesn't work in a lot of ways. I haven't liked a lot of the movies. For example, the Fear Street trilogy, a lot of like also like teen horror comedies. I feel like there's just been really bad. There was another one, Totally Killer. I just hated that movie. I thought it was not that good. But this one just takes that all away. It is absolutely amazing. I feel like this one has also a lot of humor, a lot of great writing, which is what carries this movie. So sit back because today I'm gonna like dissect the whole movie of Lisa Frankenstein, say the thing that I enjoyed the most about it, and yeah, let's get into it. Also, this review is going to contain a lot of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, please click off. So, Kathryn Newton plays the main character, Lisa Swallows, who, in the beginning of the movie, we know her backstory. Like, basically, her mother got killed by an axe-murderer, literally in the beginning of the movie, and that sets the tone for the entire film. She basically becomes this person who starts to cope with it in strange ways. She starts dressing in a lot of, like, different weird clothes, and I gotta say, like, Kathryn Newton style in this movie is phenomenal. I feel like all the wardrobe in the film was great, and that is one of the highlights of the movie. But also, she starts visiting this grave from a person who died in the 1800s, and she starts like leaving him gifts, reading to him. And when the grave gets struck by lightning, he comes back to life. So we never know the name of this character. It's basically the zombie slash Frankenstein monster that she starts falling in love. She starts like basically also getting into a life of crime with him, and I'll explain more in the course of the movie because you gotta watch it to understand what I'm talking about. But the movie like ups the insanity with every single scene until the very ending, and it is very self-aware. I really enjoy the humor in Lisa Frankenstein. I feel like the movie tries to convey a lot of these feelings of like teenage years. There's a lot of nostalgia to it. It's set in the 1980s, so obviously the settings, the clothes, the wardrobes are just amazing. It feels really cool to watch a movie like this, especially. I mean, I know that nostalgia gets overplayed in a lot of movies. For example, in Stranger Things, I think that's the one that kind of started this neo nostalgia trend. But it just works really well in the movies. It just has a lot of style that mixes well with the humor and the tone of the film. Cole Sprouse does a really good job at playing the zombie. I think his performance was fantastic. And this character is really interesting because he doesn't really say anything in the movie, like he's completely mute, but through his expressions, through his body language, you get to understand a lot of the things. And also his interactions with Lisa are just really funny. It provides a lot of humor moments. For example, there's also a lot of dark humor in the movie that I really enjoyed, and I feel like it's different in each movie. But in this one, I feel like it worked really well, mixing with the high school humor and all that kind of stuff. The other movie I would compare it to is Freaky from 2020, which also stars Kathryn Newton. I feel like it's amazing, and that one works really well. And for example, other movies that try that Gen Z humor, like corny jokes, it's kind of like, for example, movies like Bottoms, which I thought was terrible, that was released last year. I did not like it at all. I thought it was cringeworthy. I thought it like was too try hard. But that kind of humor, that kind of style tone of like witty dialogue works well in this one. And I feel like it just has to do with the tone and the writing and the pacing. So I feel like this is an example of a good execution in the film. For example, there's scenes where they start to get to know each other, and then the character of the zombie like kills the stepmother, who's being a pain in Lisa's ass for the entire movie, and then she dies. They have to bury her, and then that whole setup like leads to an entire story that was really interesting, and how Lisa starts to descend further into madness until the climax of the movie, which is really dark but also funny and sad at the same time. But she basically dies with him. I feel like that is like part of the movie that was really, really interesting. Anyways, like I said in the beginning, the movie just like ups the insanity of the film. For example, there's a scene where she kidnaps her lab partner, which is a total scumbag in the movie, and then she and the zombie cut off his hand, and then so that he can put it together on his own hand. And that's an example of the scenes. There's a couple more like that where you just like laugh because of the dark humor. And it works really well. I feel like this is one of those movies, like I said before, that mixes comedy and horror really well. There's a couple disgusting scenes that I was like, ugh, this is like, I guess like pushing it too far, but at the same time it works. And I feel like that has to do with the excellency of Zelda Williams' writing. So yeah, the movie ends up in a really sad place, but it's kind of like hopeful. It's kind of like bittersweet, kind of in similar ways. For example, Tim Burton, for example, in other movies like Tim Burton's movies that end in really tragic ways, but also leave you a feeling of hope and be like, oh, okay, that's nice. So yeah, anyways, I think the movie's really great. I highly recommend it. One of my favorites of the year. And I'm going to give it a score of 80 of 100. And yeah, those are pretty much all my thoughts on Lisa Frankenstein. That's my recommendation of the week. So yeah, if you like the movie too, let me know in the comments, and also like, share, and subscribe.